A deal on Dickens, who could resist? A stack of Austen, warmly kissed. Golden Age crime tales twist and turn, every page a treasure to learn. Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea, reading always feels so free.
Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. I have quite a few book review videos that still need to be put up. I think a couple of book tag videos have been recorded, just sitting there waiting for editing. So you will see a backlog of videos slowly trickling in. But that being said, this one will go up before all of those because I want to do a general review of what I plan to read in the upcoming quarter. Some of the books I don't have yet, but most of them are here. So I did not think of grabbing my list that had everything, so hopefully I remember when things are supposed to be generally. Next time I'll try to remember to bring the actual list, but I have all the books in one place. Before I do that, I had a request from Mariana of Book Zealots. She had done the crafting on your bookshelf, something like, I can never remember what the title is. She had done a crafting books challenge that my mom had put out, and that's, my mom's channel is Marlicia's Meanderings. I'll try to put the details down below, as well as Ariane's stuff. But we were talking about things like quilting and just different things like that. And I mentioned that there were quite a few knitting patterns that mimic quilting patterns. And she had asked me to show what I was talking about. Before I show the... Stay there. Before I show the... on the courthouse steps she was asking about, you might think, like, I think that this might sometimes be a quilting pattern. This is a mitered square. If someone was to back it onto something, it probably could be. But Ariane, that's one that could possibly have been a pattern that was a quilt pattern. But the ones that we were talking about, it's too hot to have that near me, is this one. This is the courthouse steps. And another courthouse steps, even though the designer inaccurately calls it a log cabin. Of course, I'm in the middle of a row, but that's also a courthouse step. So, Ariane, that's what I was talking about, the courthouse steps ones that I was working on. Not sure what happened to the mitered square one I made a long time ago. Probably got rid of it because, like I said, it got pretty much destroyed by the wheelchair I was using at the time. But, okay, now that I've run through that, I want to go through the books that I plan to read for next quarter. And my year, in my head, I always divide it into quarters because of Historathon. So it's Historathon quarter 2 coming up. Also, I'm taking part in the theology read-along that she does it in quarters as well. It's, I think her channel's Faith Books. I'll put that down below too. I have a bit of a headache, so I'm having trouble thinking. But she's doing, in that group, for this quarter, we're doing Blessed John Henry Newman, an essay on the development of Christian doctrine. Apparently we're not doing the whole book, we're just doing part of it. I had to look at her channel again to see which part we're doing. I think we're doing the first part. So this will be a first time read for me. And I'm interested in, I've actually not read any of his work. Apparently he was still, I want to say he would have been Church of England. So when he wrote this, he was close to his conversion to Catholicism, and before this ended up being published, he converted to Catholicism. But he wanted to make changes. Well, actually what it says right here, it's better if I actually, okay, postscript to the introduction, not to the whole book. Since the above was written, the author has joined the Catholic Church. It was his intention and wish to have carried his volume through the press before deciding finally on this step. But when he had got some way in the printing, he recognized in himself a conviction of the truth of the conclusion to which the discussion leads, so clear as to supersede further deliberation. Shortly afterwards, circumstances gave him the opportunity of acting upon it, and he felt that he had no warrant for refusing to do so. His first act on his conversion was to offer his work for revision to the proper authorities, but the offer was declined on the ground that it was written and partly printed before he was a Catholic, and that it would come before the reader in a more persuasive form if he read it as the author wrote it. It is scarcely necessary to add that he now submits every part of the book to the judgment of the Church, with whose doctrine on the subjects of which it treats he wishes all his thoughts to be coincident? Anyway, so this will be an interesting work to read simply because this is a man who's working his way towards Catholicism when he writes it, and to read his thoughts while he's working towards that should be interesting, especially since he wasn't permitted to make those adjustments he wanted to. Again, also not related to Historathon, but also which will be coming up in the next quarter. I am in May doing a buddy read with Mariana Bookzealots. We are doing 1812, The War That Forged a Nation. I actually don't know if I don't know why I haven't tried to get this, barcode off. Because this was a used book, obviously. Okay, I'm not tearing that. So I'm leaving the barcode on. By Walter R. Borman. It says, P.S. Insights, Interviews, and More. Okay. So, I think this is my first time reading something from this author. Borman. And I actually haven't read hardly anything on the War of 1812, so this should be good. And then also in May, the next book in the David McCullough Readathon comes up, and that's Brave Companions, Portraits in History. I actually finished the Teddy Roosevelt book on time, so I actually have a rest month right now, which will be great for me to catch up on some of my other reading. And I'll have a review of Mornings on Horseback later. I actually really, really enjoyed that, and I'll talk more about it at that point. Now on to Historathon. I think, let's see, for the first month, a lot of my focus is going to be on the Lindisfarne Gospels, because I started this last year, didn't get around to finishing it. I got about halfway through, and I just ran out of time. So I will look forward to reading that this time around. This is by, the last part of it, and this is by Michelle P. Brown. I also read the first book of hers that I read was Bede and the Theory of Everything. The first one I read all the way through. Oh, I found what I was trying to look for last time I couldn't find then, was her book on medieval scripts. So, of course, I found it when I no longer needed it. I put it where I could find it easily again if I wanted to use the scripts for calligraphy. But I also have her resource book for iconography, and I think it's actually for medieval manuscripts. She recommended when she released this book, like, hey, she said, I'm not going to be explaining some of the more basic things that you would know if you know about illuminated manuscripts. I would recommend getting this book if you need a resource. So I have that book, and it actually is quite a good resource. I'll try to remember to bring it one of these upcoming videos so I can show it, but I have that in conjunction to this one. And yeah, so I plan on finishing hopefully next month, because a good portion of the back is going to be bibliography and stuff. Let's see what it was. I think I read that. Oh, and I read something else she did on Anglo-Saxon manuscripts. So this will be the third book I've finished, but the fourth book of hers that I've read. When I finish, it'll be the third book I've finished. Also, I think I have this one. I can't remember if I have this one set for next month or No, I think I have this one set for May, maybe. Regardless, Bataille de Francia. This is another one of the Women's in Antiquities series that's put out by Oxford. I really enjoyed their one on Monica. Again, book review pending for that. And Bataille de Francia, Anglo-Saxon Slave, Merovingian Queen, and Abolitionist Saint by Isabel Moreira. I have several in this series. At some point, I want to do show a bunch of the books I have in this series and a bunch of books I have in a different series. I think it's called Medieval Lives. And just want to show what I have. Those series are both still releasing books, unfortunately for me. And I generally find what they have that they're releasing to be very interesting. I think the one from Medieval Lives has one they're releasing every month, which is unfortunate. Then I feel a sneeze coming. Nope, it's not going to come. So I have had this at least 1 or 2 years. I haven't ever gotten around to reading it. This is The Cult of the Saints by Peter Brown. Its rise and function in Latin Christianity. So this will be the first Peter Brown I've read. I have, like I do for Michelle, I have a couple of his books, including one that will show up in an upcoming book haul, which is a biography of Augustine that was recommended in the Monica book. So I'm going to finally get around to reading this one. I think I have this one set for maybe the end of Q2. This one will be started towards the end of May, with the thought process of being it will go through Big Book Summer, because this book, I've been meaning to read this one. This is an Eamon Duffy, the Stripping of the Altars, Traditional Religion in England, 1400 to 1580. What works nicely for this is it will actually travel through Big Book Summer then, since it's in a good portion of Q2, which is 500 to 1500 AD, and then going on into third quarter, which is 1500 to 1820. So this book, it straddles those time periods, so it allows me to carry it through Big Book Summer to get a chance of actually finishing it. So after May 22nd, which is when Big Book Summer starts, I will pick up this one. And I have really enjoyed the other book that I read by Eamon Duffy. I'm so sorry. I feel like I read last year, I want to say, his book on marking the hours, and it was about the Book of Hours in England. I really loved the book. I learned a lot. And yeah, I look forward to reading this one because in the back they're saying that, and I think I have most of his books, not all, but most. In this prize-winning account of the pre-Reformation Church, Eamon Duffy recreates lay people's experience of religion. He reveals that late medieval Catholicism was neither decadent nor decayed, but strong and vigorous. Brilliantly examining a wide array of sources, he shows that Reformation was a violent rupture from a deeply popular and theologically respectable religious tradition. 30 years on from the original, this edition includes a substantial new preface reflecting on recent developments in our understanding of the period. So I look forward to this one. And then lastly, now I'm trying not to overwhelm myself with too many books for Historathon. And when I can, I try to double dip in other read-alongs. My thought process being, if I feel inspired to read something, I have space for that. But this one is actually doing double duty as well. So I will be starting this one in June. This is, because the Historathon is April, May, June, yeah. Byzantine Aesthetics by Gervais Matthew. The reason I'm starting in June is I'll talk about this more later when a couple of other books make their way in, and then I'll show them together. But Gervais Matthew, not Matthews. He was a member of the Inklings. And my plan is to use this book as a double dipping into June's Journey with the Inklings. And that's that's Luminous Libro, who's starting that read along for the first time. She plans it to be an annual thing. And she has a whole list of different challenges that you can do within that. And I wanted to challenge myself to read a couple of the ones that I'm not as familiar with. Because, I mean, everyone knows Tolkien and Lewis. Knew nothing about Gervais Matthews. He was a priest. And his area of interest was nonfiction. And I guess he had a particular interest in Byzantine art. So we share an interest in older art or in art history. So I look forward to this. Now, it does look like the pictures are all black and white, unfortunately. But if this is his area of expertise, it will be interesting regardless. And it will be my dip into this author that I knew nothing about from the Inklings. And if you are not familiar with the Inklings, I will talk about it more when I do a video with different Inklings books. But that was the group of Oxford, I think they were all teachers there. Oxford fellows, teachers, whatever, who most of them, if not all of them, wrote. So you had Tolkien, you had C.S. Lewis, you had Lewis's brother, who I also have a couple of his books. He mostly wrote history as well, I believe. Or at least mostly wrote nonfiction. Although one of the ones I have for him is a history book. And there were a couple other people that didn't quite hit my fancy as much, so I don't remember them as well. It was mostly the two Lewises, Tolkien and Gervais Matthew, whose topic matter, as far as I could tell, were what interest me. Now, this along does allow for, if I remember her rules, she allows for someone like Dorothy L. Sayers, who is kind of on the sidelines of that, to be permitted as well. So Dorothy L. Sayers is a member also of the Detection Club, or was a member of the Detection Club, and she's known for her Sir Peter Wimsey mysteries. But also she wrote a lot of nonfiction. I think a lot of her nonfiction dealt with faith, but I haven't read her nonfiction, so I'm not completely sure. My familiarity with her work is through her Sir Peter Wimsey novels. So yeah, that is, I'm actually kind of surprised that the other, the priest involved with Detection Club wasn't involved in this. Because there's actually a book out there that talks about his friendship with Lewis. And I just kind of wonder, maybe because he didn't teach, I don't know, I thought he was Oxford connected as well. But that is Father Ronald Knox. But I'm confusing the matter. Gervais Matthew, part of the Inklings. He's double dip. I'm using him as a double dip for quarter 2 of Historathon, but also for the June's Journey with the Inklings. And it's a short book. So if I don't overwhelm myself, I should be able to get that finished. Especially since I won't be aiming to finish this one until the end of... Well, September 1st is when the Big Book Summer ends. So I have until then. So I have quite a period of time to be able to finish this one. Although I will also be reading Truman for part of that time period for the David McCullough read-along. But yeah, all told, the ones that are absolutely Historathon focused, or the ones that will count for Historathon, are these 5. But they will be supplemented by other books, either, partially as I feel like it. June will also have ones from the Inklings sprinkled in. I've got the David McCullough read-along. I've got my buddy read for the War of 1812. And then whatever I feel like reading in between. I know I have a couple of books that I'm reading now, which we'll have to carry through into April. But yeah, that's what I have planned for quarter 2 of Historathon. Let me know below if you are taking part in Historathon, what you are planning to read, or if any of these books are ones that you're interested in and or have read. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again next time. God bless.
Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea. Reading always feels so free.